most media are saying that the Prime Minister has the numbers, and we'll soon be seeing whether Minister Crean's predictions are proving correct. I think we can't understate the role that Minister Crean has been playing. And at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, I will expect to see Minister Gillard, as most of the media are, Prime Minister Gillard, to be voted back in. But the question will be whether, to use the old Paul Keating analogy, whether Mr Rudd has one shot in the locker or whether there's something remaining. We all know how Paul Keating got the leadership in 1991. Challenged, lost, went to the backbench, challenged again, won. It's a masterstroke that could be done by Mr Rudd, although it will all be dependent on the result on Monday. I mean, we're always forgetting the possibility that he could win left wing.
But let's be honest here. Who here actually thinks that Mr Rudd is going to win?
Unfortunately,
Wholly.
no.
No.
I support Rod Wholly, but Gillard's too much of a cunning person.
The average teenager has declared his hand.
Yeah, I just cannot see Rudd winning. He just doesn't have the numbers. And I think he's had his chance, really.
Well, okay, well, let's go back to, I think the whole thing originates from that night, the Night of the Long Knives. And I've been following politics for 10 years, and on my third night out of the country, away from the Australian media, the biggest thing in my life happens. It was a pretty unfortunate feeling and one typical of me. So I'd like to know what the people who were actually in the country at the time felt about the way in which Mr Rudd was challenged by Miss Gillard.
Well, to be honest, it was a pretty shocking experience just hearing that, oh, sorry, the deputies just mentioned that they're going to backstab the Prime Minister. Well, you know, these things happen. But the media really took to it, didn't they? It was a bit full on, really.
What was even more shocking was that she stayed in power for so long. I mean, I thought that there would be another election straight away and she'd be kicked out, and Tony Abbott would be in the office.
And he almost did. In fact,
he had the 51% of primary votes.
He had a sizable amount of primary votes, but I think the most extraordinary thing to come out of the past 18 months is the sudden change in the way that they spoke about Mr Rudd. I think before the leadership it was we're all behind Kevin and all that. After the election it was Mr Rudd is a man of remarkable achievement, and now that there is a challenge, they no longer, and now that Mr Rudd is Minister for Foreign Affairs,
arrogant man.
They now think he's an arrogant dictator, who I think the interviews with Tony Burke, Minister Burke, it's 8 minutes, sorry, I think the interviews with Minister Burke and Treasurer Minister Swan were some of the most extraordinary interviews I've ever seen, but the interview by Laurie Oakes, I think, with Mr Rudd today, I don't know if any of you saw that, but I think that was pretty extraordinary. And to quote Laurie Oakes, he said, he was honest. He said, look, if you win tomorrow, and I don't think you will, that was wonderfully honest. And Mr Rudd kept referring to himself in the third person. He's very confident. He's very icy, and they go back a long time. Those two.
Yes, well, actually, when the incident did happen originally, the backstabbing of Rudd,
yes,
it was rumoured that, well, let's just say Laurie Oakes was getting some tips from a certain ex.
Ah, you're talking about the election leak? You're talking about the election leak?
But really, that, you can understand a bond between them if that is so, but, well, I don't know what to believe on that.
In their criticism.
That's politics. Stupid.
Yeah,
there's the average thing.
There's the average thing. In his criticism, of Mr Rudd, a lot of them have implied that he was behind the leaks, which was something 18 months ago that none of them even dared to touch, that Mr Rudd might be behind the leaks. But,
well, times change.
Yeah, times do change, and now we end up today. So let's look ahead to the future. What do you guys see for 10 o'clock tomorrow morning?
Gillard. Unfortunately, Gillard.
Do you think it'll be a sizable victory?
Massive victory.
Yeah. Leffy?
I think it'll be closer than most people expect, but I don't think it will be close enough for Rudd for Rudd to really continue on his way. I think he just needs to calm down a bit. maybe hold off for a little while, but I just can't see. He's not going to win tomorrow, and I can't see him taking back before the next election.
He might have a second shot, like rightly suggested.
The second shot in the locker, yeah.
Yeah, it's like the Keating and Hawke
The
incident.
Keating Hawke incident, yes, that was pretty amazing. Although, I think that potentially, he has said that he wouldn't challenge Mr. Gillard again, but I think he could use an excuse if, come November, he says to everybody, I've got the numbers. So that provokes another challenge of someone like Minister Crean or Minister Smith.
He's a politician. He's not going to stick up to his word.
Understand? And then for him to say, okay, I don't want these people to become Prime Minister. I'm going to stand, but I'm not challenging Julia Gillard. I'm only joining in the ballot because I think they have the numbers to beat Julia Gillard. And that he could use that after that happens. If there was a three-way ballot, I wouldn't dare to predict what would happen. But for what it's worth, I would say 68-35 tomorrow in the 103 ballot. That's a pretty precise figure, but I think that's the sort of numbers we're talking about.
Naturally, he goes to the precise.
You're forgetting something else. What happens in the long run after Gillard manages to stay? We're forgetting Tony Abbott.
Well, yes. Well, I think long term, I think that possible three-way challenge could happen by November. I think.
Yeah. And I think Tony Abbott will take it. I mean, the Labour government is in tatters.
Mr. Abbott can't challenge directly.
Yes, but that would be an election.
Look, to be honest, I think the entire affair is really, I can't see Labour getting out of this even with Rudd. With Gillard, they managed to get out of it after Rudd initially brought them down a bit, but now they're just going back the same way. Can you see a pattern emerging here?
I thought the election of Miss Gillard really didn't do anything for the polls, to be honest. I think Mr. Rudd could well have held on for a victory for 2 or 3 months after the whole so-called Night of the Long Knives. I think he could have held on and won that ballot, won the election. But yeah, looking long term, I think that there will be a ballot before Christmas. And I think he may have an extra shot in the locker. What's your view for the long term? And for what it's worth, I think that there won't be an election until the term expires next year.
I don't think there's going to be a I think in the long term, I don't think there's going to be an election very soon. To be honest, I think they're just going to try and hold on to as long as for as long as they can, because it's not going to survive that much longer afterwards.
So to try to draw a final consensus from us, we all agree that come tomorrow afternoon, Julia Gillard will still be Prime Minister.
But not for the long.
And by the end of the year, there will be something happening.
Yeah.
In regards to a possible challenge.
Possibly, but it really depends on the aftermath of tomorrow. And
the election won't be held in the short term. That there won't be an election in the short term unless something major happens, which is always a possibility of politics. So, Leslie, if you would like to conclude the episode which you have been moderator of, our first episode, the special edition.
Well, we hope you've enjoyed this. We're all very new here, so yeah, go and join us. And we'll try and make this an annual thing. We're thinking Thursday currently, but
weekly might be a better.
Weekly might be a better hope.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Anyway, leave a comment in the comments box wherever you
comment, rate, and subscribe, people.
Yeah, comment, rate, or subscribe, or even tweet. Yeah, if we organise that.
Feel free to give legitimate negative criticism of what we say, but don't make it personal.
Yeah.
But
we've got feelings too.
Look, thank you for tuning in. We hope you've enjoyed our little bit of conversation here, and we'll have the aftermath of this event sometime soon. Yeah. Thank you for tuning in.
A week's a long time in politics, and I think at the moment a day's even longer.
Yep.
Okay. So see you next time, people.
See you next time.
Sayonara.